You can say African American, but you don't know anything about Africa. You are American. You're the original Americans. You know, everyone else is immigrants. You can't even be called immigrants. Yeah. You know, you're originally American, and your culture is as close to being the indigenous culture of America as there can be without you being the indigenous people. You know, you're the indigenous people of the entity called America. Your culture is the only one that came from right there. There's nobody else like that. There's nobody else like that in the world. There's no other culture like that in the world.
But the main villain in Africa are Africans. So we need to get rid of certain villainous, evil Africans and replace them with good Africans, right? And we have to talk about that. Therefore, y'all need to be putting these people on blast with the people who have a big enough voice to also help you push your agendas. If you talk about the things that's important in your communities, that's detrimental to your communities, and you can say it in a way that resonate with African Americans, then we will also take up those charges, and we'll also highlight the plight of your country and push your agenda as well. That's how it works. That's Pan-Africanism. Y'all can't just keep focusing on African Americans. Might have to drop a dime on them.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
You gotta stop it.
I don't like that shit.
For sure, bro.
I don't like that shit.
All right, y'all, we back with another video, man. Y'all know how we do. Always pushing health, wealth, and a better understanding of self. So this video, y'all, we going over that African American term. So check it. I said before in the video that it's disrespectful to call a foundational Black American African American. You can't do that. Okay, Elon Musk is he's an African American. People that's from Africa and they got African like Godfrey. Okay, he's an African American. He's really African. So to be calling foundationals African is disrespectful. Okay, this is a PSA announcement. Somebody may really get offended and may want to, get physical. It's disrespectful to our ancestors. So just make sure you giving the right respect. And don't call nobody African American unless they're from the continent of Africa and they got ties to America. That's it right now. We're not doing nothing else. We foundationals. Just keep the African American term, because to me it's showing that our ancestors have no lineage here. And that's really what we care about. We got a lineage that dates back to this country. No one should even be considering saying this. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, push me on the algorithm. I greatly appreciate that. I'm gonna give y'all some more commentary. Let's get it.
This message is for those who have the ears to hear and the mind to understand right now. And if you do not, I completely understand. There is no diasporatic connection between the Black American indigenous person and Africa. There is no African diaspora when it comes to our people. We are a separate entity. We have a separate culture. We have separate understandings. We have separate ways of moving about with one another. We have a century long history in America. We are from here. Our people rose from the soil here. See the Aboriginals of Australia if that is hard to understand. In tandem with that, when you see the behavior of immigrants who come here, like the Nigerian woman who started the Shade Room, when you look at that behavior and you see that they have no problem disparaging the Black American community and refusing to highlight our leaders in finance and law, aside from talking about their physical appearances, that should let you know these people are agents of white supremacy. They don't look to our community in a fashion that is anything other than a dollar sign, which is why we must remove ourselves, our dollar, and delineation. These individuals are not a part of us and we are not a part of them. In fact, on the continent of Africa, many of them within the same nation state like Nigeria are tribally disseminated. They're not the same people. So it's easy for us to understand that when we look into the truth. We don't have to believe the out of Africa theory because it's just that, a theory. Love you.
Now, as y'all seen, I played a clip in the beginning of this of Afro Think Tank. And Afro Think Tank was talking about trying to get the Africans on the continent to talk about their country and the fights that they're going through on their country, right? And we talked about this on my live. They're always talking about us. They always talking about Black Americans. Now, we understand they're getting money, right? But we can have our own people talking about us. It's a problem. We can have our own content creators that's going through what we're going through on this land, which we have. They can talk about what we're going through. So this is more of cosplaying. And listen, they getting their money. We understand that. But it's more important for them to talk about what they're going through in their country, but it won't get no hits. You know that. Afro Think Tank know that. Nobody's not going to care about what's going on over there. Everybody cares about what's going on here in America with Black Americans. We're the leaders. We're the trendsetters. We're the originals. So I think that is definitely a little... it's kind of getting the grifting now, especially when we in our delineation and we're on supporting us and making sure we gatekeeping everything that's has anything to do with us. They need to start talking about their country. They need to start talking about what they passionate in. And we're seeing this happening with a lot of melanated people. They just feel like they overstep our boundaries.
So everybody, I just got my nails done at Nails and Things. Check them out. Got the...
If we're all black, right, and black is black, why are all melanated people seemingly wanting to be this black? Black American black. I done seen so many goddamn comments like, oh, I don't care where black is or where black is found. Black is black, but you're not there. Right? You're not extracting resources from those so-called black people. You're not cosplaying or anchoring or tethering yourselves on to those black people. You know precisely what we're talking about. You've been caught, and we know what you're doing. Right? This shit doesn't work anymore. Same skin color is an ideology that's failed. It didn't fail here. It failed in your nation, but you wanted to come to another nation that you felt like wasn't familiar with your strategies and your tactics and wanted to try to play that shit on us. We know that being called this whole flat blackness thing didn't work on the continent of Africa because it led to ethnic erasure. That's what you do. You have no respect for other people's ethnicities. And we're starting to see this from the Caribbean folks too. Things like Juneteenth, Black History Month, Essence, and being a black-owned business harkens back to a legacy that Black Americans too can attest to and tie themselves to by lineage. Right? Black-owned businesses started back when we had black towns after the Great Emancipation, before the Great Emancipation era. We had black-owned businesses here, and there was no confusion about that. When we were black-owned businesses back in the 1830s and 40s and 50s, what were you? When we had Juneteenth and we were celebrating Juneteenth before there was a Department of Immigration, what were you celebrating on that day? When we established ourselves here as Black Americans, and we inspired ourselves so much that we opened magazines like Jet and Essence, where were you? And what were you doing? When our blackness helped us create or inspired us to create black towns and HBCUs, what does your blackness inspire you to create? When our blackness helped us or inspired us to join militias before this country's government was established and before there was a military established with 4 separate branches on this soil, our blackness meant that we served in state militias. Where were you? Where were you? See, group economics is practiced within a person's ethnic group. It's not practiced among a race. Especially when we have found through our due diligence over the past 60 plus years that these people are not just immigrants. They're not just aliens, but they're colonizers. Colonizer, a person, a group, or nation that settles in a new territory, taking control of the land, the resources, and the indigenous population, taking foreign territories, often sending its own citizens to settle in the land. That is the definition of colonizer. My people, we are being colonized. We have no room, and I don't give a fuck what your skin color is. That is an unforgivable act. You understand what I'm saying? An unforgivable, it is non-permissible. So we need to move quickly from boycott to fucking ban. We need a directory. We need a repository of Black American resources that cannot be hijacked. It cannot be code modified. It cannot be anchored on or tethered onto. These people have got to stand on their own.
So y'all see how Pan-Africanism makes our lineage, our culture, things that we do so vulnerable, because everybody try to tag on to what we're doing, and we don't tag on. We can't get no resources from nobody else. As y'all see, you know, the Africans is over there doing content on us every day. If we do content on them, it wouldn't get no hits. So it's like we have to sit back and watch people use us, use our image, name, and likeness to get clout and to get them in position and to get resources. And we're starting to gatekeep that. We're starting to gatekeep that because it's just, you know, it's time for us to start focusing on us. And it's going to get a lot of people mad. They're upset at this, but we don't see the same energy when it comes to the other melanated people across the land.
That Africans and African Americans are two distinct people. Now, I'm going to say some because some are actually descendants from Africa and they come here, and so they're called African Americans. And there are some that are called African Americans here that are actually native to the Americas. Many quote unquote Black or African Americans are actually native to the land here in the United States. While some were shipped over here during the slave trade, there were already quote unquote Black people here. They were already here in the Americas. According to the National Museum of the American Indian, Black natives exist. We are indigenous people of the Americas and the Caribbean. You know that guy that claimed he discovered America? Yeah, he did not discover anything because there were already people here. Black people were present in the Americas prior to Christopher Columbus and prior to the transatlantic slave trade. We've been told at least my whole life, that Christopher Columbus actually discovered America. However, over the last 2.5 decades, since the 500-year anniversary of Christopher Columbus' first voyage across the Atlantic, there has been a significant shift in how Columbus is viewed, with historians now describing him as a brutal conqueror. This article goes on to say, over the past decades, scholars have also argued that a number of early voyages to the Americas preceded Columbus's first voyage. In his book, They Came Before Columbus, published in 1976, Ivan argued that quote-unquote Africans had come to the Americas long before Columbus, and that Western scholars had hidden or suppressed evidence of this fact. Why would Western scholars hide this from us? Do you guys think there's something a lot deeper here? Again, this is just me thinking out loud. They clearly wanted us to know that Africans were shipped from Africa to the Americas, but they left out that little detail that there were actually some quote-unquote Black people already here, native to the land. And what is it with Black people? It's as if somebody is trying to erase your past, your true history. They're trying to suppress it. Why? To be clear, I know 100% it is not due to your skin color.
Scientists are now asking the questions. Did Negroes precede Columbus as discoverers of America?
Dr. Roland B. Dixon was on faculty at Harvard for over 37 years. He was born in 1875 in Worcester, Massachusetts. He was a U.S. cultural anthropologist who organized one of the world's most comprehensive and functional anthropological libraries, known as the Peabody Museum of Harvard University. He also developed Harvard into a leading center for the training of anthropologists, which demonstrates the credibility of his findings. His initial field of research focused on the American Indians of California. In 1923, he published The Racial History of Man, where he studied ancient skulls from Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Now, before I cover the subject, I want to address the Pan-Africans and the fraudulent indigenous claimers, better known as Native Americans, who often claim that there is no anthropological evidence of Black Americans being in America pre-Columbus. Well, Roland B. Dixon dispels that claim. In his 1923 study, Roland found that most skulls excavated from dig sites in central and eastern Massachusetts, as well as Rhode Island, show an analysis that the dominant race found in this area was what he called the Proto-Negroid. In plain language, Roland discovered that the earliest populations of New England were actually Black Negroid people, not Mongoloid or European. Mind you, this conclusion came from a white Harvard scientist during Jim Crow America, a man who had everything to lose with this information, yet still challenged the racial hierarchy and the story of who first populated the land. He was quoted saying, "There were dark-skinned, broad-nosed people in early Massachusetts and Rhode Island before European contact." Again, for a Harvard anthropologist to say that in 1923 was revolutionary and dangerous. But 2 years after Dixon's death, the language of his findings began to vanish from official discourse. Summaries in American Anthropologists of 1925 described his New England skulls as early Mongoloid. University bibliographies dropped the word Negroid entirely. Even the Peabody Museum's inventory cards, where Dixon's data had been recorded, were later edited to classify the same skulls as Algonquian or Mongoloid. So, more proof that there was a deliberate effort to erase the indigenous identity of Black Americans. This is the anthropological timeline of the erasure of Black American presence on this land. We have a 37-year Harvard professor who proved who was here first with just one study. Oddly, 1 year before the Eskimos were given the nickname Native American, and given U.S. citizenship. Harvard attempted to sanitize Dixon's evidence to preserve the racial story America wanted. But they failed, because the original findings are still available to be read and studied. And if Native Americans had their history erased, why do they have so many campfire stories? Why do they brag about blanket ceremonies and knowing their language? What did you learn in boarding school? Was it maybe the place you were told not to speak Eskimo? If you were the true indigenous people and your history was supposedly erased, then what did you lose, besides your minds? Oh, I know what it is. You lost your Asiatic Eskimo origins. But luckily, us true indigenous Americans, we found it for you.
A community must have three things to have a community in it. You must have a wholly independent economic structure that can provide goods, service, products, and things for your own people, and jobs and tax bases for your own people. You should at least control four basic things. You should be trying to control water, food, medicine, and energy to be able to survive and compete.
Here we got Mr. Pollock. He had a cornfield. He took advantage of a free water test from us, and this is what we found in this water. We found sulfur, we found hardness, and we solved these problems with an easy fix of 2 tanks. So get your free water test today. Stay blessed. Click the link below.